So, after insight, we get to disenchantment. Why would insight lead to disenchantment, Duncan?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? The reason why insight leads to disenchantment is because we realise what we've been missing. I think, is one route into this. We see reality for what it is, and that brings up some serious issues. What on earth were we thinking before? Why can't everybody see this? Imagine what the world would be like if everybody saw this. It's a recipe, potentially, for a kind of depression.
Yeah.
Sometimes there can be something underwhelming or scary about insight. I mean, seeing for the first time that there's no experiencer, this thing that we've been invested in for all these years, it's destabilizing, and it can be confusing. What do we do with this now? What am I expected to do with this now I've seen this?
Yeah. What am I expected to do now that I know I don't exist? Yeah.
Yeah. So, there can often be something like depression that follows hard on the heels of any kind of insight or truth. Now we've seen the way things are, we've got to deal with it. Yeah.
I think the word disenchanted is really good because it implies that at some point you were enchanted, and you've been removed from that. It's like the rug pulled from under you or whatever. And seeing the truth, I suppose also you can look back and go at it, like, not only, as you were saying about, you can look to the world and go, if everyone only thought like that. But what if I had thought about this so earlier in my life, then I could have saved myself from so much worry, stress, whatever, and just, oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
But
I don't think there's any shortage on the occult magical scene as well of, well-seasoned magicians who have quite a bitter, critical view of the world.
Sure.
And maybe some of that comes from this sense of disenchantment. You've glimpsed what the world maybe really is, or what it really could be, and then what do you do?
Yeah. In the sense that there's a hopelessness in it that you can't change it, or just that that's just the way it is, like, and there's nothing that can be done, or
there's that, and there's also falling into a very deep antagonism.
Okay.
With the way things ordinarily are, with the way that the majority of humanity comport themselves.
Like in the kind of attitude of wake up sheeple and, all of this kind of coming out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting, isn't it? Conspiracy theorists who supposedly know the truth, that discourse kind of consists mostly of those sorts of sentiments.
Yeah. And there's a very, as you said, there's like almost a bitterness to it, or there's certainly an antagonism for a lot of the time, rather than a spirit of inquiry or openness.
But if you've seen the truth, why would you be like that? Well, I think because of disenchantment, it's a thing.
And you think, is it more that you, in this case, that you're annoyed or upset, whatever, that you were enchanted rather than you've seen the truth, that you were fooled into thinking it, or is it just that the truth is so horrifying that, oh my God, or both?
Both, I think. Yeah, but it certainly has that dimension there in it, doesn't it? That the fact that what we were seeing before was an enchantment, an illusion.
Yeah. But also, I suppose disenchantment in some kind of positive sense, at least now you know the truth. Yeah. At least you're seeing it. At least you're no longer acting on false pretenses or false information. It's like finding out, I don't know, that your partner's having an affair or whatever, but at least now you know, and now you can deal with it. Up until that point you couldn't, that there was nothing that you could do because you just didn't know. And while in the moment can feel horrifying or whatever, ultimately you probably, well, most of the time I assume you're better off knowing the truth.
Yeah, like you say, you can deal with it, but that's not to say that it's going to be easy or fun.
No.
I mean, I was just thinking as well, this enchantment is there in Plato's myth of the cave. You know, he thinks about what would happen if you led the prisoners out of the cave and they saw the sun for the first time, you know. And, I think he discusses that possibility that, you know, most likely they'd want to go back in the cave.
Want to go back in, yeah. Which I think, you know, it's the same as I suppose the Matrix, and you have the wanting to go back in to be reattached, you know, to be someone famous, to have a better experience of the prison. And I think there's something to be said in that there is almost not a trap, but there could be a drive to want to be re-enchanted. You know, I know it's not the truth, but I'm happy in my, you know, ignorance is bliss and all that kind of thing too.
Yeah. But ignorance is precisely what we're trying to get away from. In this model, isn't it? And it can be a painful process. And this is probably a card that really brings that part of the process into focus.
So the image itself is a guy in blackness on the ground, but again, it's similar enough to the idea to the suffering in that the exit is still there. Only it's closer. The door is open. You know, he has less of his senses covered. He's only holding his head rather than hiding so much, and there's almost a sense, though, that he's deliberately sitting in the shadows. You know, that he's there because clearly he can see what the shadow, the light coming in, what it is. But
there's kind of no excuse here, is there, to know where the exit is?
Yeah. It's like it's right there. It's something, you know what it is. You're just avoiding it or whatever.
Yeah.
But with the assumption, I suppose, he gets up and leaves. That's that. At some point, that would be the idea.
Yeah, and maybe there's something interesting here in how this is an adult. This is a grown man, isn't it? Whereas in the suffering card, it was a young boy.
You
know, we maybe can't
so
blame
the growth.
Yeah, and we maybe can't blame the young boy, you know, for not being able to see that exit. But here, there's an older guy, and he's inside the building, and it's clear where the door is. And perhaps this is, again, more a kind of emotional process that's being worked through here compared to the suffering card, which is maybe more of something about understanding or a cognitive process. But it's clear where the door is, but it's going to take him some time before he feels able to get up and go out there.
Yeah, he even has to make a point of he has to fold his legs in to stay in the darkness. He has to make the movement. And
because he's seen the truth.
Because that's it. There's no, like in the suffering, the kid hasn't seen it because behind him he's not looking at it. Whereas he knows it's there. There's no, like, and it's like he's sitting there trying to deal with it or avoid it or look away. But it's definitely, there's no avoiding it. It's right there. It's right in front of you. So from a divinatory point of view, this is all good. Obviously, this is a lovely card to get. Will things work out for me? Disenchantment. I'll be honest.
So we've got themes here, haven't we, of a reaction to the truth, something known, but then it being about working through the consequences of that knowing. You know, some of the things we've got here, recognition of the phoniness of things.
Yeah, seeing truth.
Yeah. Anger and disgust, but justified anger or disgust.
Right. Yeah.
Anger or disgust that you can't do anything about, perhaps. You're just going to have to accept it or adapt to it.
Yeah. I'm angry and I'm just not going to take it anymore, or whatever that line is. The famous line from the film. Yeah. That it's the righteous anger that I'm not, I'm not taking it. It's like the protest anger. That thing. I'm not taking this anymore. We're not standing up for this anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there's a sense of a situation being understood, but then it's having to face where that leaves you.
Yeah. And then from a reversed point of view, I assume it's not accepting the truth of what you know to be true.
Yeah. I mean, all of these transcendental Nidanas, they represent a certain attainment. So Disenchantment, it's good that you've got to that stage. It's good that you're feeling so awful, because it means that you've seen things clearly.
As they are.
Yeah. So often the reverse meanings can be a kind of unskillful approach to things. So getting lost in depression, getting lost in whatever feelings are coming up, misery, torment, despair.
Yeah, being totally just seeing the truth and just not being able to accept it, that it's just, and getting sad about it, and, and as you say, despair, depression. Yeah.
I mean, this card is also a kind of Dark Night of the Soul card, I think.
Yeah.
Where we might get a bit lost or detained for a while, for good reason. We might have to spend a bit of time out of things before we get back on the horse.
Yeah. So I suppose in a divination sense, it would be to make sure you don't have, you feel whatever the circumstance is that you feel, whatever's been revealed or whatever's happening, that you don't get lost in so much that you despair, but don't try to avoid it for what it is. Don't get caught back in the enchantment of it. Just kind of be with it as it is and take it as it is. Don't catastrophize it, but don't avoid it either.
Yeah.
A lot in that one.
Yeah. Because you've got no other option, really. Like there has been insight at this point. The only way back is to try to unsee what you've seen.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
Put the toothpaste back in the bottle.
Yeah.
So after Disenchantment leads us to Equanimity.